Like you, I spend a little time on social media most days, and I sometimes read people's comments on other people's posts. And the type of advice that women give to one another about marriage is often shocking. Of course, everyone has some experience with marriage, your own or your parents or any other person on the planet. A lot of people write wonderful, inspirational books about marriage, and they're often writing about their own marriages. I love that. I love hearing about a couple who's been married 25, 30 years or more as they share the things that worked in their relationship. The problem with what they write is that it's inspirational, not necessarily instructional. What they find works in their marriages may or may not work in someone else's. You cannot base anything on a sample of one. You really can't generalize it to all couples. I remember meeting with a couple who wanted to be marriage mentors at their church. During our consultation, I noted that the wife did a lot more talking than her husband did. In fact, he was very passive throughout our time together. When I asked him about that, he said, "Yeah, that's true. I've learned that if I want to tell her something important, I just write her a letter." They were clearly not equals when it came to communication, and I could only imagine how his behavior would validate other men's experiences. That women are in charge and there's nothing a man can do about it, except send her a memo now and then and hope she reads it. I spoke with a pastor who had asked me to help screen candidates and recommended that this couple work on their own marriage before trying to mentor others. Yes, they'd been married a long time. On paper, they looked good enough. In real life, not so much. They had adapted to one another, but not in a healthy way. Yes, it can be pretty dangerous to draw conclusions based solely on how you've adapted to your mate, then try to teach other couples how to apply that same strategy. As far as advice goes, it's great to be inspired by another couple's success, but inspirational and aspirational are not the same as instructional. Make sure the advice you take is from someone who's studied couples and has a clear, empirically validated picture of what healthy marriage is and can teach you the skills you'll need to create that marriage for yourself, not just for one couple, but for every couple. Yes, you have some individual differences and some couple differences. Whomever you're following needs to acknowledge the fact that we don't all start from the same place. We start from lots of different places. Second, what I found even more dangerous than inspirational and aspirational books or instructional books that are idiosyncratic rather than research-based is actually what we say to each other as women. Not long ago, I spoke with a really good friend of mine, a woman in her late 50s who was struggling with some advice she'd gotten from some really well-meaning friends about her marriage. She took their advice because she was falling apart emotionally, and she thought they knew what they were talking about. She trusted what they were saying. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out well for her. It turned out really, really poorly. Her husband was depressed, and her friends encouraged her to leave him. Instead of getting professional help, they ended up getting divorced. After about 5 years, they had reconnected and were able to talk about what happened. They were both thinking about giving it another try. A month later, her now ex-husband died suddenly of a heart attack. She was heartbroken, not only that she lost him, but she had now lost him twice. She followed the advice of well-meaning people who didn't really know or understand the situation. In the process, she missed out on so much with a man she'd loved since college, the father of her 5 children. So please be careful about listening to your friends when things get rocky. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever followed the advice of a friend and later regretted it? Let us know in the comments below. Your story might help someone else resist the temptation to give or to take marital advice from an unqualified source.